Good evening and welcome to today's daily market update from Time Price Analysis. This is being recorded 15-20 minutes before the close of the US markets on Monday the 13th of May. Okay, so a huge move to the downside that we have seen today, even by recent standards. We were down nearly 80 points in the S&P 500 index at one point today. So we still haven't confirmed that we've topped, because we haven't taken the bottom of this 2 out, but I think it is much more likely than not. So I've adjusted the site charts to reflect that, but left the key levels indicated on them. So if we have topped, we should be coming down towards this 2632 area in this A wave overall, and this would just be the initial one or A of that move. And if it's not finished at today's low, then it can come down a little bit further towards 27.94 and possibly even 27.86. Then I would expect a wave 2 or B back. So if I just bring that down to the hourly chart, so this again is the S&P 500. I've got an A, B, C 1, 2, A, B, C 3. That move up on Friday did work out to be an expanded flat for the 4. Then, as you can see, we had this gap down, absolutely enormous gap down this morning, and we just kept going with small respites all day until close to the close. We got a decent rally, and we've just held the 887 pullback on it. So it's quite possible the low is in, and we should then get an A, B, C up into this target box. I would think 28.94, possibly as high as 29.17, and this is either a 1 down of a bigger A and a 2 back, and then we go 3rd down, or we just get a C wave down next for an ABC for a larger A wave down. But one step at a time. We need to confirm that we've got the low in at the moment, and there really isn't. In a diagonal, the confirmation level would actually be all the way up at 29.38, and I'm not anticipating us getting that high in any event. So there really is no confirmation level per se. Now, green line, 27.85. We haven't taken it out, so it is still possible. I've only left this on the hourly chart of the S&P 500 just as a reminder. We can still make another high in this index. If you go and look at the site charts for the ETF sectors and look at XLK and XLY, you'll see that they do look like they still want a 5th up, and they are the 1st and 3rd biggest sectors by market cap that make up the S&P 500. So although financials look absolutely dire, it is possible still to make another high, so don't write it off altogether just yet. But primarily, I think we've topped. We've got the A in, or we get another squiggle down tomorrow, then we get a B or 2 back, then we get another very, very significant move to the downside after that. NDX, same thing. You can see we've come right down. We've not quite taken out the bottom of this 2 at 72.53 yet, so we still haven't fully confirmed that the top's in, but I do think it's more than likely in all of the US indices now that that's the case. Again, in the NDX, excuse me, let me just tidy this chart up. I can count a 5-wave diagonal pattern to the downside, and it's trying to hold this bottom and bounce into the close. So the S&P 500 didn't take this equivalent low out. The NDX just has pipped below it. I'm looking for an A, B, C up again into one of the fibs in the target box, then down hard again in the NDX. But as I say, the green line on the hourly chart hasn't taken it out. Until it does, technically, we can still make another high. Dow Jones Industrial, exactly the same thing. I think we've got an A wave in, B, and looking for a C down after a retrace. But again, if I come down to the 4-hour chart, I think I've done, yeah, you can see we didn't actually invalidate it. So we stick saved the possibility of another high in the industrials by a couple of ticks. And again, conflicting information from the sectors. If you look at the Dow Jones Transports, that's certainly topped. whereas the XLI, the industrials, again, can still make another high. It hasn't come anywhere near as deep against its final two in what is also an ending diagonal in the XLI. So it needs to still be nimble here. And again, the volatility intraday, or the intraday range, is absolutely enormous. Russell, again, huge down day today, hasn't taken the bottom of this B wave out at 1495. And until it does, we can still have an A, B, C for an A, B, and go up one more time in the Russell. So, you know, I really am not expecting anything of that kind, but just be aware of it. Russell, the count in or the pattern in the Russell is a real mess. I've got an A, B, C to here, A, B, C back, and the C wave down. We just tagged underneath the 138.2 A to C relationship this afternoon, and it's trying to bounce. So again, I'm looking for a B wave back in the Russell, probably starting either after hours or into tomorrow. The other thing I want to show you is the TIVX, which is a play on the VIX, if you like. I'll show you the VIX in a moment, but it's just stuck at its 786 retrace of last week's move down. It hasn't taken out last week's high, which I find interesting, considering the nature of and magnitude of the move down today in the indices. And again, if you just look at it on the VIX here, there's last week's high up here, and this was today's high. So caution, if you're thinking of shorting this on a swing basis, you've got to apply your trading rules brutally or meticulously, or should I say. DAX, again, it's not invalidated anything. It can still pop up and hit this 12,700 before we come down. And at the moment, I'm leaving that count as is. All we've done in the DAX is come down and tag the 50% retrace of this move up here. We also didn't take the bottom of what this B wave out. So if I count it slightly differently, that would be the invalidation level. So I'm interested to see what the DAX and the FTSE do overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. I would expect will come lower, but let's wait and see what they actually do. They held up remarkably well this afternoon after their cash indices had closed, while the US indices was still motoring away to the downside. So it's still possible to get the last high. And again, if I just bring it down to the hourly chart, you can see at today's low, we hit the 1.0 extension A to C relationship here in the DAX. So, you know, let's see in the morning. UK FTSE, again, it can still pop up one level higher. Everything just refused to invalidate that. It came within a tick of doing so. It's up since the market has closed in the futures. It can still come up to the 75, 57, 75, 88 region. So again, I'm you know, reserving judgment till we see what we get tomorrow in the UK FTSE. Okay, commodities. I'm just going to stick with the shorter term charts here. This is NG, and we got this pullback, and we're starting to go up. Either we got a 1-2 of the final 5 here, or we're done and we can come down. So I didn't take another position in NG today. I'm looking for the final pop up still, ideally to 27.16 in order to short it. So just patiently watching that at the moment in NG. Now CL just got a whole world more complicated today. It was following through beautifully to the upside early on, and then it reversed, and we've had a significant move down that is impulsive, or looks impulsive. So it leaves a number of possibilities on the table. Just sticking with the daily chart, it is highly possible that this B wave is in, and that off the top, we've either got a 1 down and a 2 back. At today's high, we hit the 50% retrace fib of the move down off the high up here. So we may have a 1-2 to the downside, or if you just eyeball this, it can be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a leading diagonal. Then we get a 2 back and we start to come down. So unfortunately, just to make my life more interesting, I'm having to monitor more than one count potential in CL as well as the US indices now. Now, off the top, I did have this as an A, B, C. Giving that the benefit of the doubt, we've got an A, B, C up. At this high, the C wave hit the 138.2 extension of the A wave. So we can have a 1 in a diagonal with this move back as a 2. Then we get a 3, 4, 5 up to our original target. Nothing's actually broken. It's just the pattern and the nature of this particular leg down gives me pause for thought here. So I've counted it that way at the moment. I'm no longer in a position. I took it off the table, so left with a small profit. And I'm just going to wait and see what tomorrow brings. At the moment, we've just tagged beneath the 786 retrace that's today's low of this move up here. But you can see we have hit the 50% retrace of this move down. Now, if that's the case, if this is an impulse, it can come a little lower, but then we're going to get a 2 back that hits and holds the fib and takes out the bottom. And if I see that 1, 2, 1, 2, and we go, that would get me short via an ETF in CL for what should be an enormous move down. It projects down to around $32. So let's see what the next day or two brings in CL before we go jumping into positions again. GC, so we got a strong push to the upside today in GC. I think all it is we've got an A, B, ABC 1, 2, ABC 3. This is an ABC for the 4 up to the 764 fib. So it can just push a little higher. Invalidation is at 1314.8. I'm looking for that ABC down to 1257 and possibly still as low as 1232, but I'm still looking for that final leg down in GC. Now I just zoom it in a little bit. Excuse me. You can see we're just shy of the 764, 786 retrace cluster. That's the retrace of the length of this 3 off the 2. Then we've got an A, B, C, and we're just shy of the 1.0 extension as well. So watch 1304 to 1306 tomorrow, and then looking for it to turn back down in another ABC to lower to finish off this A wave before we then get a larger move to the upside in the metals. Okay, silver, in actual fact, not quite such a strong move today, and it's a mess, is silver. So I'm just taking the cue from gold. Again, it's not broken anything. If I take it down to an hourly chart, off this 2 here, I can have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a diagonal. We've come up and hit the 50% retrace fib. We're nowhere near this 1499 area, let alone the invalidation of the count. So still looking lower in silver as well for now. Okay, and then finally, let's take a look at the GDX. Let me just get rid of these bits and pieces. Here we go. So GDX pushed up again today a little bit, but I think what it is, if I come down to the 4-hour chart, it's just a sea of 4. So I think we've got the 3 in here, A, B, C of 4, and then we come down. So it can still come higher in the GDX, nothing broken at all. So still looking for lower before we get a larger move to the upside in the precious metals and miners. If you go to the new site's been launched, we had a few teething problems early on today, but generally speaking, it's okay. If you go to the metals and miners section and click on GDX, you'll see then I've started to put the charts in for the strategic miners portfolio. So I'm updating each one and putting them in, and then I'll record an updated video on that sector. I will also be adding the GDXJ. You can see there's the slot for it, but I haven't quite completed all of the new ETF Elliott wave charts yet. By the end of this week, all of those should be up there and up to date. All of the most of the sector ETF ones and the key ones are on there now. And also, if you'll notice, when you hit the GDX or the metals and miners, the ticker across the top, which is real-time prices, changes, and it will give you the prices, the up-to-date prices for each of the stocks in the strategic miners portfolio watch list. And again, if you hit stocks and ETFs, it will give you the prices in real time for all of the key stocks in the each of the major sectors, the big stalwarts that move the market. Okay, then finally, currencies tonight. So starting with the euro, we had a pop and drop day today. Nothing changed at all, still looking lower in the euro. And if I just bring it down to the hourly chart, and see off this 2, I think we've got another ABC for another 1, 2. And as long as we remain below the invalidation level, which is just up here on the chart at 113.23, then looking for this to resume the downside. Still short the euro. Cable coming down nicely now, looking for the rest of this 3, 4, 5 for this one here before we get the 2 back. So still short and remaining so in cable. US dollar Japanese yen has come yet lower today. I still think it's probably part of this 1, and I am expecting a 2 back at some point soon. If I just take you to the 4-hour chart, it has started back up this evening. So I'm looking for a move up to one of these fibs up here for the 2 before we then get the larger part of the next move down in US dollar Japanese yen. Still short from up here. Got some off, and the stop still up at the high for now. Australian dollar, beautiful move to the downside today, looking for this to continue to 68.40 to 67.47 next for the rest of this 3. So just remain short if you're short this pair. Bitcoin, it's pushed up even further, but it's not at the invalidation level. So all the comments from this morning's update apply. I'm looking for a turn in Bitcoin potentially, but if it holds support and gives us another high, then we've got 5 up in Bitcoin, and we have seen a significant low back in December last year. Ethereum, again, it's pushed up a little bit. All we've got in Ethereum, if this is going, if the bottom's in here, we've got a 1, 2, A, B, C for a 3. We should get a deep 4, and then another ABC up for the 5, but it's nowhere near its invalidation levels all the way up here, 549 and change. So it's lagging since, considerably compared to Bitcoin. And Ripple, just, unless Ripple can take out 35.68, it's still maintaining its pattern to the downside that we're tracking here in the 4-hour chart. So I've got conflicting signals still in the cryptocurrencies. If you're long from the entry back in February earlier this year in Bitcoin, I would remain long for now, but make sure you've got something in the bank and you put a sensible stop on the position. And finally, TLT. So it's pushed up a little further. It can even push up to 126.13. I am ideally looking for the C wave down here. Now, it is possible, of course, that the 2 is already in over here. Not really what I'm expecting, but if it is, we'll still get a pullback against this. Then we'll take the top out, and there's more than enough room in this to still enter that way if it comes to it. There simply hasn't been a setup off a fib to get long TLT. So unless you want to just jump in, which I personally don't, then patience for the setup in TLT before we go long. Okay, that's what I've got this evening. Do take care out there. It's extraordinarily volatile, and you can get absolutely crucified intraday with the moves. Don't hold futures overnight, I would suggest, and trade smaller. Take your profits regularly along the way, and don't let it turn back against you when you've got them. Okay, that's it. Back tomorrow.